Hello, students of public speaking. Today's topic is how you put together your speech, or the steps in the speech-making process. Those are the 8 steps in the speech-making process, and we will discuss all 8 of them in order. There they are. We will discuss all of them as we get to them. First things first, let's select and narrow the topic. All of you are experts about different topics, and you're going to want to choose a topic that you are familiar with. Do not choose something that you're going to have to do an inordinate amount of research in order to be successful. In other words, very few of you are experts about nuclear physics. Many of you know about other topics, though. So choose something that you're familiar with, maybe something that relates to your program of study, maybe something that you've always been interested in, something that you got introduced to in high school and that you're still interested in. Those would be good topics for you to potentially discuss. Our first our first evidence speech with an outline is the biography speech, and it's a flavor of informative speaking, but it's a speech about a person. The example that I often use is Bill Gates. And this home outside of Seattle is Bill Gates' home. You'll notice the solar panels on the roof. You'll notice a lot of wood from the area. And you'll also notice that the construction of the home is very much in keeping with the scenery that it occupies. So it kind of blends in to the environment. That is obviously something that was done on purpose. This is a $40 million home, and it has a lot of amenities in it. It has some computer capabilities that would absolutely blow your mind. In a 3 to 5 minute speech, I would have a lot of difficulty doing the technological capabilities of this home justice and discussing Bill Gates' early life, Bill Gates' rise to fame, Bill Gates' time at Harvard University, Bill Gates' charity work that he does. He donated $20 billion to a charity, and the Gates Foundation, and basically they do charitable work all over the world off of the interest. So it's set up to be a charitable organization pretty much in perpetuity. I would have a lot of difficulty discussing all of those things in any great amount of detail in 3 to 5 minutes if I were to choose to discuss all of them. So you're going to need to narrow what you're talking about in order for your speech to be successful and for it to be in the time constraints that have been allotted. I found a video clip on YouTube that talks about the Gates home, and I think that playing this video clip kind of makes my point. It's a 3 minute and 17 second video clip, and were I to play a little bit of this video clip, it would take a pretty significant period of time, and of course I would want to refrain from playing all of it because it would just be me playing a video clip, and it wouldn't be me talking or me engaged in any public speaking. So if I limited myself to about 30 seconds of this video clip, I would still have quite a bit of stuff that I needed to discuss.
The Gates house is across from Seattle on the shores of Lake Washington. It was conceived as a home that typifies the Pacific Northwest's casual style. It's also a place where groundbreaking technology is being applied in new and fascinating ways to make the home more livable. Innovations developed here are likely to be common features of the typical home someday. The home is built into a hillside to minimize its presence on the site and improve its energy efficiency. There's a great deal of wood in the home, as well as glass windows and roofs, and at least 7 varieties of stone. Most of the wood is recycled Douglas fir that came from an 80-year-old Weyerhaeuser lumber mill that was being torn down nearby. Most of the glass faces west over the lake towards Seattle to take advantage of the sunset and the Olympic mountain views. Another key building material is silicon. 100 microcomputers and the software that controls them will let you experience the home without having to pay any attention to the technology at its heart. Once inside, you'll wear a special pin that uniquely identifies you and connects you to the home's electronic services, which will automatically adapt themselves to you and your tastes. As you move through the home, the pin that you've programmed allows you to hear your choice of music on the information appliance nearest you, even as people in different rooms listen to their own favorites. You won't have to miss a minute of the movie or television show you are watching. It can travel with you. The room temperature adjusts itself to suit your preference, and high-resolution displays will know you are nearby and present electronic versions of your favorite art. The lights ahead of you gradually come on while those in the rooms you've left behind turn themselves off. And if you get a phone call during your stay, only the phone nearest you rings to avoid disturbing other people. The home does all of this for you automatically with the help of the pin you're wearing. Outside of the library, you can see another advantage of setting the home into the hillside. The home's pavilions blend into their surroundings. The home is equipped with energy-saving instruments as well. So if it's bright outside, the lights inside will match the brightness to that of the outdoors. House temperatures inside decrease when you're asleep or not present. Of course, there are manual switches, just like today's homes, to override the computer's decisions. Although the actual living space is quite modest, larger areas like the reception hall will accommodate special events. This room switches into an entertaining mode, automatically reconfiguring the lighting, room temperature, background music selection, audio volume, and video displays. The large video wall you see is made up of large individual projection screens. The screens can be combined to show images of artwork, computer graphics, videos, or a television program selected from cable, video disc, or satellite. The Gates home is a home of the future. Look for these technologies and many more like them to positively change the ways in which we live at home.
Obviously, that's a great example of a extended sort of visual aid that would be appropriate if you were discussing Bill Gates in a much longer sort of speech. So maybe if you were talking about Bill Gates for around 20 minutes, it would be appropriate to get into that level of detail with regard to a visual aid about his house. But for a 3 to 5 minute biography speech, that is just simply too much information, and you would not have enough time to get into that much detail regarding Mr. Gates. So that hopefully is some encouragement for you to narrow the scope of whatever it is that you will be addressing the audience. Here we have a young lady, and she's attempting to select a topic. And she knows a lot about cats, scrapbooking, and Oprah Winfrey. Those of you who are familiar with my class know that speaking about that one is, of course, not allowed. I hear several speeches, each speech go round about Oprah Winfrey, and I estimate that I've heard somewhere close to 1,000 of them already. Hence, I encourage you to seek out other topics. Next, you're going to determine the purpose of your speech. Why are you talking to that particular group? What is the purpose for your address that day? And for the most part in speeches, you will have one of 4 purposes. You will either be introducing another person, you will be entertaining an audience, you will be informing an audience, or you will be persuading them. We had some limited introductions in the online class that happened in our discussion boards. In the actual physical class, we do speeches of introduction during one of the class periods. We all gave a speech for entertainment. That was the narrative speech that you completed for our class. That was an entertaining speech. An example of a speech to entertain would be a speech that you might give as the best man or as the maid of honor at a wedding. Those are entertaining speeches. Those are speeches that are meant to make people enjoy themselves and to have fun and commemorate an occasion. Those are speeches of entertainment. A speech to inform is similar to a training function that you might engage in if you were called upon to train for an organization. It's also similar to the speech that most of your professors give when they attempt to teach you a lesson whenever they are lecturing. A persuasive speech, an example of that might be if you are speaking in a boardroom in favor of a particular course of action, and we're trying to get other members of your team to be persuaded towards that course of action. It might also be, a speech that you would give to a city council to approve or rather reject some zoning regulation. Next, you're going to develop a central idea, and in the graphic here we have a speech about Mardi Gras. There are Mardi Gras is obviously the central idea. I would generate some main points, and I would turn those 3 main points into that speech about Mardi Gras. So I would discuss Mardi Gras history, the beads, and the parades associated with Mardi Gras. Those would all be examples of filtering those 3 main ideas, those 3 things, into essentially a central idea. Next, you're going to want to generate main points, and this process involves brainstorming for ideas about your topic, organizing those things into specific areas, and then applying an organizational pattern. Remember, in brainstorming, there's no really right or wrong items. You want to just get everything that you possibly can down on paper and get as much ground covered as you possibly can. Next, you're going to organize things into main areas, and the organization of that material into main areas will be organized around that organizational pattern, either topical, chronological, or spatial. Finally, you're going to apply that organizational pattern and bring the speech on home. Next, you're going to gather supporting material, and we as a society are going to generate more information this year than we have generated in all other years put together. According to some analysts, it is enough information to fill the Library of Congress pretty much every single day. That is a ridiculous amount of information that's going to be generated this year. So in keeping with that, there's a lot more Web 2.0 evidence out there that is of much higher quality than it used to be. And there is a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily come from books that is still very valid information. Your sources that you gather do not have to necessarily be in print. Next, organize/write the speech. And in this particular area, you're going to want to apply some of those principles of outlining that we've been discussing. For instance, in a speech about different stringed musical instruments, you might have a main point about guitars. You would have 3 sub-points underneath that main point. This is the part where you organize the information into a speech, into a coherent thought, into a coherent argument. The 7th step is the most important step of the speech making process, and it is the one that you've absolutely got to engage in if you want to have a successful speech, and that is to rehearse/de-stress. And I say /de-stress because it is the point in the process where you will eliminate the stress, where you will take the stress out of speech making, and that is, if you rehearse enough, you will eliminate the stress. In this graphic, we have a young lady, and she is about ready to deliver a keynote speech in that arena, in that conference room, in that room. And she is looking out at the 500 or so chairs that they have assembled in that conference room, and I'm sure she's visualizing herself being successful. I know that she's visualizing her introduction going well, kind of where she's going to stand when she makes different points, what her hand gestures will be like. She's going through the whole thing in her head. You should do the same thing. Visualize yourself being successful, possibly record yourself ahead of time. Make sure that you are familiar enough with your material that you will be a success in that public speaking situation. If you do not rehearse, then your nerves will be apparent and they will be obvious to everyone. If you're not familiar with that material, you're not going to have a good speech. And here we see her visualizing that success. A couple different ways that you can practice. You can visualize it. You can go over it. You can look at yourself delivering the address in front of a mirror, or you can record yourself. You can also practice in front of a group of family and friends. All of these things are great ways to minimize your stress and to de-stress the public speaking situation. Finally, deliver the speech. If you engage in all of those different steps before you get up to give the speech, you will have a great public speech. And the reason is because it's all kind of systematic. It starts with that good foundation and then sort of works its way up. So the least stressful part of it, in fact, almost a little anticlimactic if you engage in all the other parts of the speech making process, will be the actual delivery of the speech. One other thing to consider, arguably the 9th step in the speech making process. The reason that I kind of superimposed that as a transparency over all of the rest of them is because it is something that you should be engaging in the entire time. You should be considering your audience as you select and narrow, as you determine a purpose, as you develop the central idea, generate main points, gather supporting material, organize and write the speech, rehearse and deliver the speech. Consider the audience at all turns. Examine what types of arguments you think that they will find successful. Examine what types of arguments you think that they will not be persuaded by, and that will help you to construct a better speech for your audience. I hope that you learned a little something about audience analysis and about the steps involved in the speech making process. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. Have a good day.